Have you ever looked into an animal's eyes and felt it understood exactly who you are? In the heart of the Serengeti, David, a young park ranger, had an encounter that would change his life forever. It was only his first patrol, but what he found in that golden savanna wasn't just a lioness in trouble. It was a profound test of courage, empathy, and trust that would echo around the world. And the most incredible part? Years later, a simple gesture from that very same lioness left everyone speechless. How can a wild animal teach lessons that humans struggle to explain? Imagine the relentless sun scorching the earth, the scent of dry grass lingering in the hot breeze. David, his heart racing, drove his jeep through the endless plains of Serengeti National Park. He was young, full of dreams, determined to protect nature. But nothing had prepared him for what was coming. A cruel trap, ruthless poachers, and a helpless cub would change everything. Did he make the right choice, you'll wonder? And even more importantly, what did that lioness do afterward to show her gratitude? If you love heartwarming stories that showcase the extraordinary bonds between humans and animals, leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss a single one. Let's dive deep into this moving journey, where trust between species breaks every known rule. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt an animal choose you as a friend? Because that's exactly what happened to David, and the story has only just begun. What he witnessed on that first patrol would forever change everything he knew about wildlife. Are you ready to find out what it was? The sun had barely risen when David, his uniform still smelling fresh, climbed into the jeep. The engine's low rumble was almost drowned out by the chirping of birds in the Serengeti. It was his first patrol as a ranger, and man, was he nervous. He gripped the wheel tight, his eyes scanning the savanna. Every shadow seemed to hide an adventure or danger. Just stay calm, he told himself. But seriously, who stays calm with lions lurking nearby? Then a sound cut through the air. A hoarse roar mixed with a pained whimper. David slammed the brakes, his heart racing. The smell of dry earth rose as he stepped out, his feet hesitant. Following the sound, he found fresh tracks, big ones from a lioness. This isn't normal, he thought. Lionesses don't roar like that unless something's seriously wrong. Ever felt that shiver that tells you something big's about to happen? Well, David felt it, and he was right. Further ahead, hidden among bushes, there she was, a majestic lioness but in trouble. Her golden eyes gleamed with a mix of fear and strength. A cruel, rusty steel trap clamped her paw. Blood stained the ground, and every move she made was a silent cry of pain. David froze. He was new, trained to observe, not interfere. But that look, it was begging. How do you ignore something like that? He grabbed the radio, but static only heightened the tension. Poachers were prowling the area, and time was against him. The lioness stared at him, as if she knew he was her only shot. Can you believe it? David thought, feeling a weight in his chest. He couldn't just walk away. Something bigger seemed to guide him, like a whisper from the universe. Close your eyes for a second and imagine you alone in the savannah with a lioness staring into your soul. What would you do? But then, before David could decide, something stirred in the bushes. What was it? The bush rustled, and David held his breath. The wind carried a faint smell of dust and blood, mixed with the tension hanging heavy in the air. He clutched his binoculars, fingers trembling, expecting a poacher or worse. But wow, what came out was totally different. A tiny lion cub with wide eyes and scruffy fur like he'd rolled in the dirt. He stumbled toward the trapped lioness, mewing softly. Can you believe something so fragile could be there? In the middle of all that danger? David's chest tightened. The lioness, despite her bleeding paw caught in the trap, licked the cub gently. Each lick was slow, almost sacred, as if she knew time was slipping away. The steel trap creaked with every attempt she made to move, the sound slicing through the savanna's silence. David noticed the details, the rusty chain, the acacia thorns stuck in her fur. It was the work of heartless poachers, and anger surged through him. Who does this to such a noble creature? Ever felt that rage mixed with a desperate urge to help? He stepped closer, keeping a safe distance. The lioness growled low, but it wasn't a threat. It was despair. Her eyes met his, and I swear it felt like she was pleading for help. David thought of the protocols. Don't interfere with nature. But there, with the cub trembling and the mother suffering, the rules felt too cold. He pulled out his pocket knife, not to fight, but to try freeing the chain. "Easy, girl," he whispered, as if she could understand. And, who knows, maybe, she did. The radio crackled, but no one answered. The sun climbed, heating the ground beneath his feet, and time was running out. David knew poachers could return any moment. He looked at the cub, nestled against its mother, and felt a weight. If he didn't act, neither would survive. Sometimes the heart speaks louder than rules, right? He thought. And that's when something unexpected happened. Something he couldn't have predicted. Take a deep breath and picture it. A wounded lioness, a helpless cub, and a young man alone deciding their fate. Gives you chills, doesn't it? But what the lioness did next left David speechless. What was it? David barely blinked, his eyes locked on the lioness. The midday heat made sweat drip down his forehead, and the distant buzz of flies filled the air. Then, the lioness did something he'd never forget. With an effort that seemed to drain her last strength, she pushed the cub toward him. The little one stumbled, its clumsy paws kicking up dirt, and stopped right at David's feet, staring up with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. Seriously, have you ever seen an animal trust a human so much? It was like the lioness was saying, "Take care of him for me." He stood frozen. The cub, its golden fur dusted with dirt, let out mews so frail they broke his heart. David crouched slowly, catching the warm scent of the cub's fur. The lioness watched, tense, but not growling. It was a silent pact, a trust so rare it felt like a miracle of nature. Ever felt a moment when the world just stops? He'd think later. Because right there, in that savanna, time seemed to stand still, but reality hit fast. The trap still held the lioness, and blood pooled darkly on the ground. David knew if he didn't act, he'd lose them both. He picked up the cub gently, feeling its tiny heart racing against his hands. "I'll keep you safe, little one," he whispered, naming the cub Ko, meaning courage in the local language. But what about the mother? He looked at the lioness, who grew weaker by the second. How could he save them both without breaking every rule? The radio finally crackled to life, and David called for backup, speaking fast. "Lioness trapped, cub. Vulnerable poachers in the area." The voice on the other end urged calm. But how do you stay calm with Ko trembling in your arms? He looked into the lioness's eyes, and I swear he felt a bigger calling, like the universe was testing his soul. "I won't let you down," he promised. "Pause for a moment and feel this. A cub trusting you, a mother fighting for life. What would you choose?" But against all rules, David was about to make a risky move. What was it? David held Ko tightly, feeling the cub's warmth against his chest. The sharp snap of twigs breaking in the distance made his stomach churn. Poachers could be close. He looked at the lioness, her breathing weaker, her matted fur stuck to the blood-soaked earth. The park's rules echoed in his mind. Don't interfere, let nature take its course. But come on, how do you turn away from a mother fighting for her life and a cub who barely knows how to walk? Sometimes you've got to listen to your heart, he thought, and decided to risk it all. He approached the trap, the cold, rusty metal creaking under his fingers. The lioness growled softly, but her eyes showed no threat. It was like she knew he was there to help. David used his pocket knife, cutting the ropes holding the chain. Every move was slow, deliberate as he whispered, "Stay with me, girl." Ever felt that moment when fear and hope clash inside you? That's what David was living, with Ko mewing softly in his arms. The chain gave way with a snap, and the lioness let out a relieved whimper, but she didn't move. She was too weak, her injured paw swollen and infected. David tore the sleeve off his shirt, improvising a bandage to stop the bleeding. He knew he was breaking every rule, but something bigger guided him, maybe a breath of nature telling him this was the right path. He grabbed the radio and called the medical team, praying they'd make it in time. "Hang on," he told the lioness, as if she could understand. While waiting, he sat in the dirt. Ko nestled in his lap. The cub nibbled his fingers, clumsily trying to play, and David chuckled despite the tension. "You're a fighter, aren't you, little guy?" But the lioness still needed help, and the wait felt endless. The sun blazed, and the savannas. Silence was broken only by the hum of insects. David looked to the sky as if asking for a sign. Picture this: you in the middle of the savannah, a cub in your lap, and a lioness looking at you with hope. Can you feel the weight of it? But what came next would test David's courage like never before. What was it? The sound of tires crunching gravel broke the silence, and David looked up, relieved. The park's medical team arrived, their jeep kicking up dust that glowed against the setting sun. He held Ko, whose soft fur smelled of warm earth, and explained, in short bursts, "Poacher's trap, infected paw. She won't last much longer." The lioness, lying down, breathed heavily, her eyes half closed. Ever seen someone fight for life with such dignity? Because there, in that savannah, she was pure strength, even so frail. The veterinarian, Dr. Amina, took charge. With steady hands, she examined the lioness's paw, the air now tinged with a faint antiseptic smell. "Severe infection," she muttered, preparing a syringe with sedative. David stayed close, keeping Ko in view for the mother, as if saying, "Your little one's safe." The cub squirmed, trying to reach her, and David laughed softly. "Easy, warrior. She needs a minute." But deep down, he feared, what if the treatment came too late? The team worked fast, cleaning the wound and administering antibiotics. The sound of the wind carried the lioness's soft grunts, now sedated, as her paw was bandaged. David didn't budge, his heart torn between hope and fear. He thought of stories he'd heard about the Serengeti, how nature always finds a way. Is that true? He wondered, glancing at Ko, who was chewing on his boot. Who'd have thought a cub so small could bring such strength? When the lioness began to stir, the team stepped back, but David stayed. He felt a chill, like the moment was bigger than him, maybe a sign from nature. The lioness opened her eyes, locking them on Ko, then David. No growl, just a look that said it all. Night was falling and stars began to twinkle in the sky. Dr. Amina warned, "She'll need weeks to recover." David nodded, already knowing his life now revolved around those two. Breathe deep and see it. The savannah darkening, a cub nestled close, and a lioness gazing with gratitude. Feel the impact? But how would David care for Ko while the mother fought for her life? What lay ahead? Morning in the Serengeti brought a gentle coolness, with dew sparkling on acacia leaves. David woke early, the sound of birds filling the air, and rushed to the temporary shelter where Ko stayed. The cub, now bolder, ran to greet him, tripping over his own paws and knocking over a bowl of milk. "You're a hurricane, aren't you, little guy?" David laughed, cleaning the mess. But seriously, who can resist a lion cub who thinks he's a kitten? He took on the role of Ko's caretaker, and each day strengthened a bond he never expected. Meanwhile, the lioness, named Nia by the team, recovered in an isolated park area. David visited daily, bringing Ko so she could smell her cub. The faint scent of medicinal herbs lingered during bandage changes, and Nia, though still weak, wagged her tail at the sight of her baby. Ever felt an animal teach you patience? David thought, admiring her strength. He told Ko stories as if the cub could understand, and noticed how the little one's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Days turned to weeks, and David became more than a ranger. He was a guardian. He learned Ko's quirks, how he loved chasing butterflies or purred when his belly was scratched. But the responsibility weighed heavy. Poachers still lurked in the park, and David doubled patrols, his heart tight at the thought of Nia and Ko in danger. One night, under a sky studded with stars, he vowed, "I'll protect you no matter what." It felt like a pledge to nature itself. Ko grew strong, and Nia gained weight. her paw scars turning into marks of triumph. David felt pride, but also an ache. Soon they'd return to the wild. And him? What would he do without them? He stroked Ko, feeling the warm fur under his fingers, and realized the wild had changed his soul. Imagine a lion cub chasing butterflies, the savannah as his playground. Doesn't it warm your heart? But when the time came to release them, something incredible happened. What was it? The release day dawned with a golden sky, the air heavy, with the sweet scent of wildflowers dotting the Serengeti. David walked beside Nia, now strong, her muscles rippling under glossy fur. Ko bounded ahead, chasing a dragonfly with energy that made David laugh. "You've grown, but you're still a troublemaker, huh?" he said, ruffling the cub's fur. The park team watched. But for David, this moment was just him, Nia, and Ko. Ever felt an emptiness mixed with pride, like letting go of something precious? Nia paused near a cluster of trees, her eyes scanning the savannah as if recognizing every rock. David held Ko's loose collar, ready to let go. The soft sound of the wind seemed to carry a goodbye, and he felt a lump in his throat. "Go conquer, you two," he whispered, releasing Ko. The cub ran to his mother, and Nia greeted him with a loving lick. For a moment, she looked at David, and I swear that look seemed to say, "Thank you for everything." It was like nature, sealing a bond between them. But then something unexpected happened. Before leaving, Nia approached a nearby acacia and, with a claw, scratched deep marks into the trunk. David gasped. In local culture, such marks were signs of respect, almost a gift. "Can you believe it?" he thought, his heart racing. The team murmured, awestruck, as Ko mimicked his mother, scratching the tree with his tiny paws. It was a simple act, but so powerful it felt like it carried the soul of the savannah. As Nia and Ko walked away, their silhouettes blending into the horizon, David stood still, the sun warm on his skin. He knew they belonged there, but part of him wanted to run after them. The savannah seemed to whisper, "You did the right thing." Picture it, a lioness marking a tree in your honor, her cub by her side. Isn't that something that stays with you forever? But David's story with the Serengeti was far from over. What came next? Back in the United States, David landed with his heart still tied to the Serengeti. The cold airport air, smelling of asphalt and coffee, felt strange after months breathing the savannah. He carried a creased photo, Nia and Ko under the marked acacia, a reminder of the bond that changed everything. Ever felt an animal taught you more than any person? He thought, crossing the city. That experience wasn't just a story. It was a call to live differently, with more courage and empathy. At home, David started giving talks on conservation, his eyes shining as he spoke of Nia and Ko. His voice echoed in packed auditoriums, and he felt the savannah pulse in every word. He founded a project to fight illegal hunting, inspired by the lioness who trusted him. "If a lioness can risk everything for her cub, what can we do for the planet?" he asked audiences. And wow, people got emotional, some even wiping away tears. But it wasn't all easy. Sometimes, in the quiet of night, David stared out his window, the starry sky reminding him of Serengeti nights. He missed Ko's purring, Nia's steady gaze. "Are they okay?" he wondered, his heart heavy. Then one day a letter arrived from the park. Nia and Ko had been spotted, strong, leading a small pride. The attached photo showed Ko now, the young lion with the same mischievous energy. David laughed, relieved. It felt like a gift from the universe. That chapter in the Serengeti transformed David forever. He learned that nature isn't just something to protect. It's a teacher, full of lessons on trust and resilience. Today, he lives to share this story, spreading the message that even the unlikeliest bonds can change the world. What about you? Has an animal ever changed your life in a way you'll never forget? Pause for a second and feel this. A photo of two lions free, proof you made a difference. Isn't that what gives life meaning? But David's story still inspires thousands. Want to know how? Sometimes the greatest teachers have four paws and a wild heart. David's journey with Nia and Keo in the Serengeti is more than a rescue story. It's a lesson in empathy, courage, and bonds that cross species. He broke rules, faced dangers, and learned that nature always gives back when you give your all. That mark on the acacia? It wasn't just a scratch. It was a symbol of gratitude David carries in his soul. And the most amazing part? Years later, Keo, now a strong lion, was seen leading his own pride, as if honoring the man who protected him. This story makes us think, how often does life ask us to follow our hearts, even against the rules? Nia trusted David, and he trusted the strength of nature. Maybe we can learn from them to protect, to care, to believe. If this story touched you, hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming adventures. And here's the thing. The next video YouTube suggests will take you to another moving tale of animals changing lives. Don't miss it. Now we want to hear from you. Has an animal ever transformed your life, looked at you like it understood everything? Share your story in the comments because every story matters. David, Nia, and Keo showed us the world is more beautiful when we connect with nature. Until next time, may your heart always find a piece of the savannah.